What's up? I'm Marco, CEO at The Birdhouse, and at our agency, we've generated over 10 billion views and 2 million followers on Twitter and LinkedIn over the last 4 years. And today I posted a tweet to my followers saying, ask me anything about Twitter growth. And trust me, we got a lot of interesting questions. So let's get into it. Okay, so I have my first question here. Best strategy for new accounts. I'm less than 2 weeks old. I get less than 50 impressions on a post, and it feels like I'm talking to a wall. Is the goal to just comment all day instead of posting all day? So this is really a two-part answer. It really depends on who you are. So if there's really two ways you can look at it. If you are a nobody, and I mean this in the most respectful way possible, if you're a nobody and you have no mutual connections, you're kind of new to the space of whatever industry you're trying to break into, and you're really just getting started in that industry, you really do need to be a reply guy. So one of the things that Nikita Beer says, the head of product, it says 0 to 500 followers, be a reply guy. And that can't be more true if you are kind of at zero in your career. And that's because you have no mutual connections. You have no one that's going to reply to your tweets and boost you up on the algorithm or anything like that. So yes, from 0 to 500 followers, if you're a nobody, you need to be a reply guy. That being said, on the flip side, if you're already an established business owner or you're established already on the internet on other platforms, or you already have a little bit of credibility in your space, all of the mutual followers that you can get by just asking your network to follow you and asking your network to reply on your stuff and just kind of get your feet wet on the platform, you will grow a ton. So one of the ways I always do this when we get a new client and we go up market and we sign a lot of big CEOs because they have a bunch of friends in the industry. They already have a bunch of mutual connections and a lot of them already have followers. And they go and follow those people. And then when they tweet, they're already getting a massive boost from having a ton of authority and having other big accounts commenting on their stuff. So it's kind of a two-part question depending where you're at. All right, question number 2 here. How long did you post before seeing your audience increase? Was it incremental or did it go vertical? So my story is a little bit different. I was actually on Twitter since about 2011 when I was in 7th grade. So I saw my audience already have a little bit of incremental growth for the first like 10 years before I really took it serious for business. I would say when I started taking my growth serious for business, I already had about 2,000 followers, just tons of mutual friends and just tweeting for like a decade. That being said, once I did start taking it serious back in 2021, I got a ton of vertical growth. I think I went from about 2,000 or 3,000 followers to about 15,000 to 20,000 followers in about like 6 months. And I have a lot of videos on my channel about how to grow on Twitter really fast. So I will say it went vertical once I took it serious. Got another question here. Is X better than any other social platform for marketing and business growth? So this is another nuanced answer. It really depends on you. So if you are good on camera and you're really good at speaking or being on video, then obviously a video platform might be a little bit better for your particular brand or your particular business. That being said, if you're someone that's not good on camera and you're a really good writer, then X might be the place for you. Additionally, if you're heavily B2B or targeting people that are corporate executives, then LinkedIn might be a better fit for you. But where X is really good is where it's kind of a little bit of everything. And this is why Elon calls it the everything app. So if you're not really sure where to start, you don't know what your strengths and weaknesses are, then X is the perfect place to start because it's the most underrated platform on the internet. And you can really do all of the different mediums when it comes to content. Think short form, long form, video, voice, podcast, everything fits on X. So it's a great place to start all around. And I'm getting cold, so we're gonna go inside and answer the rest of these questions. Okay, so we're inside now. I got another question here. It says, does volume of posting matter? This is a good one, especially for X and Twitter, because the answer is 100% yes. It's the only platform on the internet where you can essentially post almost an infinite amount of times without really having any penalties. For example, we recently ran a test where we were posting only 3 times a day for a client, and we went up to 6 times a day for that same client and essentially doubled all of the metrics. And you see Joey nodding to my right because he's actually the one who did it for his client. And yes, posting volume definitely matters. So if you can and have the means, I definitely recommend doubling or even tripling the volume of posting that you have. And if you know anything about this channel or me, you know I always recommend a minimum of 3 times per day. Okay, so we have the next question here. It's how do I get my first 1,000 followers? And this is a loaded question. And I actually have a video on this channel that's how to go from 0 to 10,000 followers in 90 days. I also have a newsletter down below that you can subscribe to where we send stuff like this all the time. So I'm going to switch this question up a little bit, and it's going to be how would I get to 1,000 followers in the fastest amount of time possible? So if I had to start over today, someone had a gun in my head, I have to build an account from 0 to 1K followers by the end of the week. What I would do is build some sort of AI-centric account. I would build some sort of free giveaway lead magnet, something like an N8N automation that they can copy paste, some sort of prompt generation, some sort of script or some sort of guide. And I would go and then give away that guide for free and just tell people that they have to follow me if they want me to DM them access to the guide. Now, it has to be extremely, extremely valuable, something that no one can find anywhere. That's the one caveat to this, but that's how you're going to go from 0 to 1,000 followers very fast, because people are going to look at your account and be like, holy crap, I just found a diamond in the rough and he's giving away an absolute gem. So that's how I would do it extremely fast. Now, this isn't something I would recommend, and it actually leads into the next question. Before we answer this question, we're going to switch locations in the house because I'm already getting hot sitting here. Let's go. All right, so I have a couple questions left, but I left the best for last. The question I have here is how to build a personal brand with aura. So this is a great question because I think the word aura is kind of just thrown out there a lot, but people don't know how to actually build it or what it actually means. So I'm going to kind of demystify it a little bit, at least as it pertains to like a Twitter account. So for example, the way you want to build a personal brand with aura is really you need to have some sort of unconventional wisdom or some sort of little known value that people cannot find anywhere else. So that's really like step one. And then step two is you want to build your entire personal brand around this unconventional wisdom without actually asking for anything in return. So what it means is when people find your account, they kind of look at your account as a hidden gem. They look at your account like, holy, I just found someone that's giving all of this value, but they're not actually asking for anything in return. And they follow you thinking, holy shit, I'm early to this. Have you ever felt like you've been early to something and you almost want to gatekeep it a little bit? That's kind of how you build a personal brand, especially on Twitter with a little bit of aura. Bonus points if you're like faceless. There's some of these faceless accounts that do this and they just give a ton of value up front with nothing in return. And this is how you can really build that aura around your account. But the most important part is just giving a ton of value that you cannot find anywhere else. And then once you build a big following around that specific vehicle, eventually you can make the ask and you won't really lose that quote unquote aura if you've already built the personal brand. But early on, you really just want to focus on give a lot of unconventional wisdom that they're not going to find anywhere else, and be that diamond in the rough for your new followers. A great example of this is I see all these accounts coming on from like Wall Street that come in that are ex-investment bankers, 20 years on Wall Street or $100 million portfolios, and they just come on spitting absolute game on the timeline, and they just have a ton of aura because they're just coming in saying, stop listening to all these gurus, I have a $100 million portfolio. They just give away a ton of advice in a long form tweet. Now that's how you actually acquire aura, because you're just coming in and just changing the game with the information you have to give. And the last question we have here is a really interesting one. It's what's something about growth that most people don't know? Now, this is an interesting one. I had to think about it a lot, and I even asked my team for some advice on it. But I think the biggest thing that comes to mind for me is that there's a big difference when it comes to content that converts for just growth and content that converts for actual sales. And the most important thing to do here is become crystal clear on what your objective is. If you're going to be committing for 1 to 2 years to just build your actual personal brand and just grow your audience, that is a completely different objective than trying to monetize from day one and make money from day one. Now, I always recommend monetizing from day one, but if you're someone who comes to the game and just needs to build a personal brand, you already have a business that makes money and you do not need to monetize whatsoever, your approach to the game and your approach to personal branding is going to be much different. And an example of that is like coming in, for example, with not asking for anything. That's obvious, but another way is going into it without any expectations of what you're going to get back. You're just posting purely expertise, purely value, and you're really focused on conveying the message in the simplest way possible. Whereas if you're monetizing from day one, you're really going to think about how you can convey the message so that your ideal customer understands it and then converts at the end with some sort of call to action mechanism. So those are really the two lenses you want to look at it through. So you need to become crystal clear on what you're trying to do. If you're just trying to monetize from day one, do not think, how do I gain 10,000 followers by the end of the month, because that's just a different game to play. And listen, I get questions all the time on X, and if you want me to answer your question in a future video, I highly recommend subscribing to the newsletter, replying to the opening email, and you have a chance to be featured in the next video. See you in the next one. Cheers.